the radical, fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, and individual rights. This is the Yaron Brooks Show.
All right, everybody, welcome to Yaron Brooks Show on this Tuesday, Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Hopefully you're all looking forward to a very romantic day. Now, I don't know how many of you are available tonight because you might be going out on dates or doing something nice, but I will be doing a show tonight, 7 p.m. East Coast time. For some of you, that may be early enough. Tentatively, it's going to be on something about love, sex, and romance in the 21st century. We'll continue our discussion of the whole masculinity thing. That's tentative. I still have to finalize it and figure out if I really want to do that. But that will be tonight, 7 p.m. East Coast time. So just a reminder to everybody. All right, let's jump in. Let's jump into the program. Let's start with the inflation number that came out this morning. It was slightly higher than expected for January. It was a 0.5% increase over the previous years as the top line inflation number. And core inflation also increased a little higher than they expected. I think expectation was 0.4, and CPI, the top number was 0.5. That gives us a 6.4 backward-looking inflation rate for the year. So that over the last 12 years, inflation has risen at a pace of about 6.4. This is significantly higher than what it was in December, where it was negative 0.1, or in November, where it was 0.1. The last time it was this high on a monthly basis was in June. June was actually the peak inflation month for many years, which ran at 1.3 for the month. So 0.5 is quite high, but it was expected. It was not completely surprised. 0.4 and 0.5, not a big surprise. This just shows that inflation is not being halted. The Fed's goal of getting inflation down to 2% would require us to go back to 0.1, 0.2, so quite a bit lower than where it is right now. I expect February March inflation to be also relatively high, and I expect the Fed to continue increasing interest rates because that is the only blunt tool that they have. Maybe this inflation number could be affected by efforts by the Republican Congress to come up with some kind of deal to cut spending. But we will see, and who knows when that deal will be cut, and who knows what kind of deal they will actually put together. So inflation's still humming along there at 6-7% rates, and Fed will continue to increase interest rates, which does not bode well for a potential recession. Of course, I've been expecting a recession for a while now, and it hasn't happened, and unemployment keeps staying low, and job creation keeps happening, and there are more jobs available, more job listings than are people looking. So all of that, it goes against the idea of a recession, but it really does look like as the Fed will increase interest rates, and at some point, as the Fed increases interest rates, at some point, there is no question that there will be a economic slowdown, a significant economic slowdown, and a recession. So still expecting it later this year. We'll see exactly when. We'll see how it manifests itself. We'll see what sectors it hits. I went through a list this morning of a bunch of companies that are still, tech companies still doing layoffs, and there were a lot of them, and it's still happening. So that has not ended yet. It's going to be an interesting next 12 months, and a lot will depend on exactly what and when the Fed acts. But this was not a number the market was looking for. The stock market was looking for a much lower number, hoping to sustain the rally that they started in January. This will probably put a halt to that rally, at least for now. Again, as interest rates go up, stock prices go down, everything else held constant. As interest rates go up now, expectations are for a recession, corporate profitability to decline. It's already started to decline in the fourth quarter of last year, declined further, and as a consequence, stock prices to stay low, if not decline even further. So not good news for the stock market, and not good news for us. It means that everything we're buying is still going up in prices. One of the measures that they look at carefully at the Fed is services industry inflation, and that was up even more than 0.5 and is up over 7% for the last 12 months. And until that number starts coming down significantly, again, I expect the Fed to continue raising interest rates. As the Fed raises interest rates, I wouldn't be surprised if the dollar gets stronger. So those of you traveling, that impacts that. And I still don't expect a dollar collapse. I still don't expect another currency to take over instead of the dollar. I still don't expect the BRICS or SHMICS or PICS or whatever to replace the dollar currency. It ain't happening. Dollar is the global currency and is going to stay that way for a while. You will see, I think, the dollar actually strengthening as interest rates go up. All right, inflation. Don't forget, you can use the super chat to ask questions. We have a goal for the raising money thing to support the show thingy. Friend Casey, thank you for getting us started with the sticker with some money, so with the fundraising aspect of this. So I appreciate all the support. We have a goal of $250. We really, really try to make it every day. We've got like 80 people watching right now live, so what is it, $3 from each person right now? $3, $3 to $4 from each person watching actually gets us to our target pretty easily. All right. Just wanted to give you an update on the inflation number that came out this morning. Everybody in the markets was really, really anticipating. Was in anticipation. Futures market expected a low number. That's why stocks were up. They opened down. I'm not sure where they are right now, but I'd expect them to be down. But my expectations don't always manifest themselves. If my expectations around the stock market always manifested themselves, I'd be a lot richer than I am. Yeah, stocks are down. But NASDAQ about 0.5 percentage point, the Dow about 0.7%. All right. Let's see. Killing crypto. So this was an interesting story, but it kind of connected a lot of dots for me in terms of what I've been seeing over the last few months, really over the last 2 months. It's happened pretty quickly from the Biden administration. And from elements within the Democratic Party and then from regulators throughout the administration. And that is a real concerted effort, a real concerted attempt by this administration to try to kill off crypto and to do so in kind of subtle, hidden ways without having to declare that that's what they're doing, without without announcing any change in policy, really, without alienating maybe a lot of the people who hold crypto directly, because there's been no change in policy. So this is kind of a stealth way to try to kill crypto. Let's call it, and a lot of this I'm taking for Pirate Wires, which is a Substack I subscribe to, and an article written by Nick Carter, and let's call this Operation Choke Point 2.0. Now, for those of you who don't know what Choke Point 1.0 is, I think it's very, very, it's important that you know what it is. It's a maybe one of the low points in American government policy, right? In fascist implementation. So one of the great frustrations of government, and I'd say Democrats in particular, who would like to control business and basically like to drive out of business those businesses they don't like. I don't know, Democrats had their way, things like payday loans, things like gun manufacturers, things like private colleges, what other? There's a whole string of businesses that our central planners and our morality police and the philosopher kings do not believe contribute to social well-being, and think that it is bad for you, and therefore they would like to basically drive those businesses out of business. And of course, you know, maybe in these days, in the world in which we live today, what they would really like to do is drive kind of oil companies out of business. They would like to drive fracking companies out of business. They would like to drive a lot of companies, you know, out of business. And but they can't. They can't because it's politically untenable. They can't because they don't have enough political power. They can't because Congress won't pass those bills. Even Democrats in Congress won't pass those bills. It's impractical for them to actually shut down these businesses. That is, the American people will flip out and go after them. I mean, they would like to shut down certain car companies that don't produce electric vehicles, or shut down those parts, but they also can't really shut down the car companies because the labor unions who are part of the car companies are supporting them. So it's complicated, right? The whole thing is complicated. But there's certain industries we know they don't want. They don't want certain pipelines to be funded. They don't want certain businesses and, you know, things like, again, firearm manufacturers and private colleges. For example, there was a whole thing about private colleges. Anyway, during the Obama administration, they came up with an incredibly creative way of doing this. And in my view, one of the worst examples of government abuse of power in American history, but one of these things that never go reported and nobody ever does a big deal out of them, and nobody really reports them. This was actually called choke point. An idea was that the Department of Justice would go and meet with banks. Nothing official, nothing formal, no new law, no particular regulations. But basically, the Department of Justice would go and take a member of the FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or the OCC, Office of the Controller of Currency, both of which are bank regulators. And the Department of Justice would coordinate with the FDIC and OCC, and they would go to banks, and they would basically encourage the banks to redline. Not based on race, not based on income, not based on risk. Well, they would argue that it was based on risk. They would basically tell banks, we don't want you to lend to risky businesses. We don't want you to lend to businesses that might get into legal trouble with the government, because if you lend to those businesses, then and they get into trouble with the government, then those are going to be bad loans in your books, and we, the regulators, will have to come in and intervene. So what we'd rather you do is don't lend to them to begin with. Just don't lend to them. And they did this primarily with the big banks, but they did it a lot of regional banks. And basically, they had a list of like a dozen industries that banks were requested not to lend any money to and not to have any banking relationship with. Firearm manufacturers, adult entertainment, and, as I said, private colleges among them. And I remember I was on a board of a private college at the time, and basically the college got a phone call one day from their primary banker, and the banker said, "Look, we have to cut all ties with you guys." Why? Well, because the government has suggested it, has recommended it, and they did. They cut all ties with the private college. The private college had to scramble and find a small bank somewhere in California or to do business with. That bank had not come under pressure from the government, were willing to take the risk because they needed the revenue, and they established a banking relationship. But the big bank had cut it off. And this was a mechanism to penalize those poor. And the idea is the choke point is to choke capital. This was started in. This is, by the way, how the the Obama administration got rid of the online poker business. Online poker companies were basically they squeezed their banking relationships, and they killed the industry based in the U.S. through their banking industry, through their banking relationship. They couldn't take Visa, MasterCard, and so on. And now they were applying it to a mass of other industries. I don't know that they actually succeeded. I don't think, for example, the adult entertainment business. I don't think the adult entertainment business has been choked off. It seems to be thriving. It did some damage maybe to the margin, but gun manufacturers, private colleges, I don't think that is what hurt them. Other things the government did hurt private colleges, but not that. This was a way to choke off capital from these industries. Anyway, much of that was reversed under Trump, although it continued informally under Trump. Bank of America and Citibank deplatformed firearm companies. Bank of America, began reporting client firearm purchases. This is in 2018 under Trump. In 2019, AOC announced her intent to marginalize private pensions through her seat on the Private House Financial Services Committee. I don't think she did anything or could do anything, but that was the intent. Anyway, over the last few months, really since the early December, since FTX kind of completely blew up, there has been an effort by members of Congress, the Fed, the FDIC, the OCC, and the Department of Justice to choke off crypto, basically to make the relationship between crypto and banks impossible, and thus to make it very difficult for crypto to basically to convert your coins, your cryptocurrency, into dollars, because for that you need to go through a bank. So, for example, on December 6th, Elizabeth Warren, John Kennedy, and Roger Marshall sent a letter to crypto-friendly bank Silvergate, scolding them for providing services to FTX and Alameda Research, and lambasting them for failing to report suspicious activities associated with these activities. On December 7th, Signature, another active bank in the crypto space, announced its intent to halve deposits ascribed to crypto clients. They were basically giving the crypto customers their money back and shutting down their accounts. Crypto deposits dropped from 23 billion to 10 billion. January 3rd, the Fed, the FDIC, and the OCC released a joint statement on the risks to banks engaging with crypto, not explicitly banning banks' ability to hold crypto or deal with crypto clients, but strongly discouraging them from doing so on a, quote, safety and soundness basis. On January 9th, Metropolitan Commercial Bank, one of the few banks that serve the crypto clients, announced a total shutdown of its crypto asset related vertical. On January 9th, Silvergate stock falls to a low of $11.25 on a bank run. There's a bank run because of the crypto exposure and its solvency fears. The bank dealt with the bank run. The bank actually handed over cash to anybody who redeemed their accounts. Again, the bank had traded as high as $160 a share, and now is at under 12. On January 21, Binance is a big crypto exchange, announced that due to the policy at Signature Bank, they will only process user fiat transaction worth more than $100,000. Couldn't do small transactions. January 27th, the Fed denied crypto bank Custodia's 2-year application, 2 years, to become a member of the Federal Reserve System, citing safety and soundness risks. Of course, everybody else who had an intention, all the other crypto banks who had an intention of getting a license from the Fed are now not applying. It's completely frozen that market. The Kansas City Fed branch denied Custodia's application for a master account, which would have given it an ability to use wholesale payment services and to hold reserves with the Fed directly. Then on January 27th, also, the Fed issued a policy statement which discourages banks from holding crypto assets or issuing stable coins and broadens their authority to cover non-FDIC insured state-chartered banks. It's just a broadening of the Fed's authority without legislation, without anything. So they are now regulating state-chartered banks like Custodia. And you could go on and on and on. And February 8th, Protego and Praxis, applications to follow, to obtain full approval to become national trust banks, still outstanding, 18 months. And they're probably going to be denied by the OCC. And you can see on and on and on, a systematic approach by regulators to crush the crypto market. Now, as you know, I am not a huge crypto fan. And I'm certainly not a crypto as money is going to replace the dollar fan. I don't think that's going to happen. But I am a huge believer in letting the markets work. Letting the markets work. All this will do, by the way, is drive. It'll crush the crypto industry, which is still looking for its killer app, which is sad because there's a lot of innovation going on in this industry, and there's a lot of interesting things going on. And there's a lot of upside and potential going on. So a lot of venture capital just won't flow to this industry, and it's going to dry up. And in that sense, the regulators are going to be successful. But at the margin, what it's going to do is going to drive whatever is left and the investments in crypto overseas to other places where countries and places that want the business and want the capital and want the flow of money. This will mean those other places are actually, significantly less regulated and significantly less developed capital markets than the U.S. Much more opportunities for fraud and deception in those other markets. Remember, FTX was not in the United States because of excess regulations and excess controls and excess problems that they were having here. They were in the Bahamas. And of course, FTX landed up as a massive case of fraud. So this is going to drive a lot of these businesses offshore into all kinds of places, all kind of, places that don't have the best reputation for the rule of law. And it's a shame. Here's a burgeoning industry. Who knows what its upside potential is? Maybe it's very limited. Maybe there's nothing. Maybe there's no there. But until without letting the industry play out, we will never know. And the government here, as I predicted they would from day one, is actually trying to suppress them. I think this is just the beginning. I think there's going to be a lot more. Many in the crypto industry are kind of saying, okay, we'll wait it out. And when DeSantis comes back in office, all this will be reversed and we're back in business. I think they're deluding themselves. It's not clear to me at all that a Republican administration would be more friendly to crypto, particularly towards the possibility of undermining the dollar. But I think there's real delusion in the crypto space in terms of what government is going to let them get away with. But we will see. But it's sad that we're not being allowed to see it play out. Maybe crypto is all just one pyramid scheme. Let's have it play out and let's see what happens and let's see how it does. All right. Quickly, drones. And by the way, yeah, we've raised very little money today, so $250 is still the target. So we've got 109 people watching, $2 from each person, and we're there. But we need those $2 from you guys, or we need a few $100 ones. That'll get us there quicker. But we do need your support to make these daily shows doable. Make the daily shows daily. All right. Drones. Obviously, drones are playing a huge part in intelligence, in defense, in offense, in military. Drones have become a number one national security priority to many countries around the world. We're seeing that every day in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Russia is using Iranian-made drones. There's a statement I never thought I'd say. Russia is using Iranian drones almost nightly to attack Ukrainian targets. Iranians are managing those drones from positions within Russia. The Iranians are supposedly building factories to produce those drones inside Russia. So they're being built by the hundreds. The Ukrainians are using drones to attack Russia. The Ukrainians are using a variety of different types of drones to defend themselves and to attack Russian positions. And then there was a story broken today, or not today, a few days ago, that some people in the front lines, some soldiers on the front lines of Ukraine were complaining because Starlink, which is the main access to the internet that the Ukrainians have, are not allowing them, Starlink is not allowing them to use the full capabilities of the drones. That is, Starlink is somehow capping the potential of drone use. Elon Musk, commenting on this, says, Starlink is the communication backbone of Ukraine, especially at the front lines, where almost all of the internet connectivity has been destroyed. But we will not enable escalation of conflict that may lead to World War III. So he's using the same rhetoric that it was used not to sell them tanks, not to sell them airplanes, not to sell them, Putin will launch a nuclear attack if we sell them this stuff. So clearly, somehow they are limiting the use of these drones through the Starlink connection. This is Elon Musk kowtowing to the Russians. Now, there's another interpretation, and it's hard to read because some senior official in Ukraine actually announced that no, the drones are fully functional, not to worry, everything is fine. I don't know if he did that for internal use or whether Elon Musk is saying what he's saying in order to appease the Russians, but it's not true. Or what exactly is going on is very hard to tell right now. But Elon Musk has many times stated that clearly he fears the Russians using nukes, and therefore the United States should negotiate a peace treaty, and he should be involved in it. Anyway, Elon Musk is on the Jordan Peterson side of fearing the Russians and not wanting to do anything that might upset them, which is kind of sad. But what I want to focus on is the importance of drones. Now, we also see the importance of drones in the UFOs that are being downed. It's not clear, but it's quite possible that some of the objects that were downed over the weekend were drones sent by China, or ultimately by Russia. Who knows what, maybe by somebody else. Nobody knows exactly. We don't know yet what they are exactly. It's not clear that all of them were balloons. Some of them might be drones. So there is, whoops, where did that, oh, there it is. So there is a real issue with drones. And of course, drones have become a major issue for militaries. In a war games exercise that the Pentagon ran a few weeks ago, they ran a war game on an potential invasion of Taiwan. The U.S. won that war in the game, of course, through the use of swarm drones, actually a swarm of swarms. So this is a massive number. They won't say exactly how many. I think it's classified, but a massive number of drones attacking, I guess, Chinese positions, and that's ultimately what tilted the war in the U.S. Favor. The Israelis have deployed drones for decades now, and Israel is one of the leaders in the world in drone technology. We saw that probably the Israelis, very likely the Israelis, used drones in Iran to destroy a missile facility. They've used drones to attack potential nuclear development facilities. So the Israelis are flying drones over Iran and destroying facilities over there. This is the military technology of the present, of our time. And one of the questions is, how's the U.S. doing this? Again, national security issues. And it's very mixed. On the side of semiconductors, I think the U.S. is way ahead of the Chinese, certainly way ahead of the Russians, and increasing its lead with the latest Biden administration restrictions on export of sophisticated chips, but also the limitation on China to buy chip-making equipment from Japan and the Netherlands and the U.S. It looks like the U.S. has a big lead and probably increasing its lead in microprocessors, which are essential for these kind of these drones. In artificial intelligence, the kind of software that is going to run future drones and is necessary, which will make these drones make decisions on the fly, not rely on the way the killer drones today are used, where somebody's piloting them from afar. They will be able to have programs that dictate the algorithms, what they should be looking for and how they should attack and what they should actually do. On that, right now, it seems like both the U.S. and China are, equally positioned, although the U.S. might have a slight advantage. It's not clear. But then on other stuff, it certainly looked like China has the edge. China has more advanced batteries. At least they have the capacity to build those batteries in large numbers. The U.S. might have some designs for more advanced batteries than the Chinese, but we don't have the capacity to build them, certainly not at scale. China is also going to is seeking to become, and it looks like it's going to become the leading manufacturer of electric vehicles in the world. I think they'll be producing electric vehicles at a pace that other countries will have it hard to match. So they're going to have a massive advantage in terms of economies of scale in making electric batteries. And then China is the leading manufacturer in the world by far of kind of commercial civilian drones. DJI is the world leading manufacturer of drones. I have a DJI drone. If you look up drones, DJI dominates that field. They also have the best, most advanced, a lot of capacity on the advanced manufacturing level, although the U.S. has it as well. So in a lot of areas, China is a massive leader here, and this is a real national security competitive area. Batteries is a huge issue. We have almost no battery manufacturers in the U.S. now. Our allies manufacture batteries. LG in Korea, Panasonic in Japan, Samsung in Korea. Those are the three leading, and SK Innovations. Those are four of the top six manufacturers of batteries in the world. Again, all concentrated. You'll note on that side of the Pacifics are all susceptible to Chinese blocking the sea lanes. Again, more reason why the United States really needs to beef up its Navy and beef up its capability of protecting those sea lanes. All the others, the six other top manufacturers of batteries in the world are all Chinese. All Chinese. Let's see. And look, AI, I'm not talking about AI as consciousness. I'm not talking about AI as mimicking human intelligence. I'm talking about AI as very, very sophisticated algorithms that can they can make decisions on the fly, not decisions that they make through the free will of the robot, but decisions that they make based on the algorithm, based on very, very advanced, sophisticated algorithms. This is going to be required for cars that drive themselves, but this is even more going to be required for a drone that then can make a decision on which tank to shoot or to bomb, versus a human being doing it and getting a second opinion and so on. So you want to make sure that software is foolproof. It's not going to make mistakes on the battlefield, and to do that, we're not quite there yet. And then communications, and then if you have swarms of drones, they all need to communicate and coordinate with one another. The other area that's really, really crucial is communications. 5G, again, the Chinese are a little ahead of us, and there's a big race to 6G. And the ability of drones to communicate with one another, the ability generally to communicate, is a huge battlefield issue. U.S. is lagging a little bit there, but not as dramatically as, let's say, with batteries. But all of these areas are areas in which you would think there would be a role for some strategic investments, and you would, for defense purposes, but also ways in which, we could protect the shipping lane, so we can protect the importation of materials and essential strategic needs that we have, or build stockpiles, or do whatever the Pentagon is supposed to do to keep us all prepared. All right, whoa, I'm way behind. All right, so just some, drones are in the news, and they're going to be big, and the whole UFO thing, the drones are just going to become bigger. Okay, just quickly on Hogwarts Legacy. No, I'm not playing that game, but it is interesting. I thought this was an interesting woke kind of example. So Hogwarts Legacy is, of course, a Harry Potter video game, but, of course, the author of Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, is considered a no-no, a person to be shunned, and a person to be ignored and punished and canceled more broadly, and therefore you shouldn't be playing the video game, because she needs to be accountable for her views on trans. I find her views on trans quite rational and reasonable. I don't think she's crazy at all when it comes to trans, but she's quite vocal in this issue, and she is constantly being attacked on Twitter on this issue, and there's a massive attempt to boycott this game in order to hurt Rawlins. The funny thing is, of course, that the consequence of this is the exact opposite. This has raised the profile of the game. It's made it more visible, and in spite of the attempts of woke and cancel culture to cancel this game, it is the most watched single-player game in Twitch history. This is all on Twitch, which is very PC and very woke. The morality police are trying to police it, but it's the most watched single-player game in Twitch history. So there you go. The ineffectiveness of woke morality police to shut down the gaming industry. Boys will be boys. What can I say? All right. Again, we're about $175 short, so would appreciate trying to get to our goal. All right, Shazbat says, in the film Amadeus, Salieri is on a quest for immortality. His music will continue to be celebrated after he is gone. Is this an irrational goal, since he won't be able to experience it himself? No, I don't think it's necessarily an irrational goal. I think there is some pleasure and some enjoyment to be had in imagining, in contemplating the fact that your music will be enjoyed by many generations into the future, to the extent that there is value. I mean, for example, I'm sure that, Steve Jobs had immense satisfaction from the fact that people were using his iPhones in countries that he would never visit, that people would use it, that he would never actually see using it. So he had to just project, but he got a lot of satisfaction and a lot of enjoyment out of that use, because he could imagine it. We are conceptual beings. We can imagine things that are not directly in our experience. So a composer, an artist, I think somebody like Steve Jobs, who are changing the world forever, in a sense, can contemplate not just, wow, Joe and Sarah really like this music, but wow, people all over the world like this music, and wow, this music is so good that people 100 years from now are going to enjoy it. Isn't that cool? The billions and billions of people that might enjoy this music in the future. And it will survive, and it will live, and people will enjoy this forever, which is the status, of course, Mozart gains. And I do think it's something that is not irrational. It's something that can be contemplated and enjoyed and valued. All right, we have like 3 questions left, and then that will be it. Thank you, Carolina. Thank you, David. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Kim. I think I got everybody. And thank you, Gail. Thank you, Gail. All right. If everybody did, if of those inclined could do $5 right now, we'd get very close to target, and we'll call it a day. I have 3 quick questions and we're done. All right, Action Jackson says, dry sauna and ice baths seem to be a staple to health and longevity. Do you do either of these? No, I don't do either of those. Ice baths seems like a crazy, nutty thing to do. If you're going to do it, do cold showers and a dry sauna. Look, there is a lot of work being done on life extension. I don't think any of these one-off kind of things are going to actually achieve it. I think it's a combination and an accumulation of a lot of things. I just am finishing this book called Lifespan. I encourage everybody to read it. One of the things that you really get from it is 2 things you get from it. One is how complex our bodies are. That is that it's likely that whatever we do in order to extend life, and the book is definitely on the side of life extension as possible, is going to require multiple different things to deal with. And second, that there is a ton of research being done right now to deal with it. That is, a lot of people are investing a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money is going into life extension research. So it is super, right now, things are moving very fast. They're super interesting. I am optimistic that, some treatments and some drugs are going to come by that'll extend my life a little bit, hopefully, so there are more treatments and more will extend my life even more. But it truly is a revolution going on in life extension. There's so much research and so many different fronts looking at so many different alternatives that it is very, very exciting to see. And it's now pretty standard practice for mice to live longer and other kind of animal experiments and stuff to actually be extending life. So cool. All right. Great. I mean, we're $29 short now. Thank you, John. John just put in $100. Hey, Yaron, I heard you mention that you already watched Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, in a recent episode. I requested it on your amazing end of your show. I hope you have fun while watching it. It was pleasantly surprised, and I'm looking forward to your review in a later episode. Yes, I will review it, and I'm sorry to disappoint, but I didn't really like it. I know I'm a spoil sport, and I almost don't like anything, but I really like Puss in Boots and Shrek, and I just didn't like this one, and I'll develop my thoughts about it in a future episode, probably on Saturday. Yes, Saturday. Okay, just so you know, guys, tonight we're doing a Valentine's Day episode, so we'll do love, sex, and romance, something like that. On Thursday, I've got Alex Epstein in for an interview, so don't miss Alex Epstein. We'll be talking about what we talk about with Alex: energy, life, everything. We'll see if Alex has something in particular he wants to talk about. But that's Alex on Thursday, 7 p.m. East Coast time. All right, we've got. Thank you, Kirill. Thank you, Colt. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Finn Harper. We're $21 short. Kirill, yes, thank you. Jeffrey says, I'd love to hear you talk about how love is portrayed in contemporary art. But maybe that's a question for tonight, but I'll be working. How about I make that one of the topics of tonight's show, love in contemporary, and here I'm going to take it as art that, because in sculpture and paintings they don't deal with any subject or any topics. I can't talk about sculpture and painting anymore, but love in art, that is a really good topic. I like that. I might devote much more of the show to. Wow. I'm going to devote a chunk of the show to love in art. How about that? Thank you. That really just inspired me. So, Jeffrey, I know you won't see it live, but listen to it after the fact. I think you'll enjoy it. I think I've got a few things to say about love in art. We can talk about opera. We can talk about old movies versus modern movies. We can talk about songs, lyrics, music lyrics. That would be good. Country music versus non-country music, rap, versus Cole Porter-like songs, Frank Sinatra-like songs. We can talk about, yeah, I like this topic. All right, I like it. I'm going to have to do some research, get some sculpture and paintings as well, but really cool. All right. Action Jackson, would you ever do a cold plunge ice bath? No. God. I mean, I would do it like, I don't know, like if there was somewhere, I don't know, if I was in Iceland and there was a thing about going in the water and swimming a little bit and coming out, but literally going to a bathtub and just lying there and freezing your butt off. I live in Puerto Rico. There's a reason I live in Puerto Rico. Now, if you paid me enough for it, $5K is not enough, but if you paid me enough for it, I'm sure I would do a cold plunge. So I would do a cold plunge into like a lake, and I've done that. I've swum in kind of lakes up in the Tetons where there was literally, you know, it was water from melted snow. But I'm not going to do it in a bathtub. That's insane. I would do it, and I have done it, like, you know, put a shower on fully cold, and then another shower on hot and jump from one to the other. I did that when I was young. I don't know that it extended my life. You know, you want to extend your life? Here's some simple, really, really straightforward stuff. Eat well, and you can go broadly in eating well, but you can do pretty well on a Mediterranean diet. Don't smoke. Don't drink too much. I mean, don't drink ever to a lot. You know, a little bit won't hurt you, but don't drink. You know, and get good genes, and but you know, and take, you know, get screened. Do your annual checkups. Do thorough annual checkups. Sleep enough, and have, you know, and enjoy life. And then, you know, they're gonna be things coming down the line. Oh yeah, exercise. Thank you, Jennifer. Jennifer's filling me in. Exercise quite a bit. I mean, it requires more than a little bit of exercise. Exercise quite a bit. The more you exercise, probably, the more you extend life, and the more you extend not just life, but a healthy life. Daniel says, I listened, by the way, we reached our goal. Thank you, everybody. I listened to an episode of Sam Harris where he was talking about morality, and I really hadn't thought about it much, and now I'm bummed out that it will end. About mortality, not morality, that it will end. I love my life. Any thoughts on how to get over mortality? Yeah, it just get over it. It just is. It's you know, it's the same as trying to get over gravity. It just is. Mortality is. Now, given that, there is a lot of exciting science about life extension. So follow it, get engaged with it, figure out how to maximize not only your span, but your quality of your life. Do some reading about living well, about how to you know, how to keep your body in good shape so that you live a good life in whatever span you have. I mean, if anything, mortality should give you a better sense of every minute counts. Every day counts. Scholar said, okay, Scholar's given me a lot of money over this. What if I tell the story, Michael Jordan's story, as you tell it in the essay, and I refer people and link people to your essay rather than reading the whole essay out aloud? Is that, would that qualify given how much money you've given me already for this? I'm happy to do it. I read it. I like the story. I don't want to read the whole thing, but I want to tell the story kind of basically and tell people, encourage people to go and do it and read it. You know, which would be, and I'll link to it in the chat. How about we do that on Saturday? I'm going to write it down, Saturday show. So if you want in the chat, tell me if that's acceptable or not. And if it is, that would qualify excellent. We will do that. So Saturday, among other things, we will celebrate Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's birthday is the day before. We'll celebrate it on Saturday. All right. Wow. This is Question about Rockefeller's 3 business practices. Is anything wrong with business practices for Rockefeller, like rebates he got from railroads? No, nothing wrong. I mean, a lot of people get rebates. I'm sure Amazon give rebates from the post office or UPS. I'm sure a lot of businesses get rebates for shipping. That is a conventional business practice. Why was it so controversial? Because it gave him a leg up. And I mean, I find it very difficult to figure out why it was so controversial. It seems stunning. He got a bulk discount. Don't we all get bulk discounts? Isn't that what Costco is for? What about drawbacks, which he got from railroads? Same thing. These are all preferential treatment based on how much volume he used the railroads for. And by the way, pure market forces drove his market position down because people started building pipelines in order to get around the need for railroads, and so on. So all of these are basic business practices. There's nothing unusual about them. But when they're talked about with regard to Rockefeller, it's with, ooh, look at all the crazy things he did. But none of that is actually real. All right, thank you, Azhan. Okay, quickly, these 2 questions. Would China one-child policy make any war less tenable for the populace? If you lose 1 to 2 child out of 5 or 6, it is horrible, but life goes on. If you lose your only kid, it would be completely unbearable. I think so. I think China's not in a position to engage in a war. I don't think their military. I think the one-child policy is a real detriment. I agree with you completely. It will make a war far less popular. But I also think their army is less well-trained. It's less experienced than the U.S. Army. And ultimately, their weapon systems are just nowhere near as good. Some of their weapon systems are as good and maybe better, but most are. In a land war, there's no contest. The advantage they have are with supersonic missiles and lasers right now. But no, I agree with you, Stephen, that they're at a disadvantage because of one child. They also have fewer people than they would have otherwise had. Thoughts on debt ceiling that may limit the Fed to stop raising rates in the near future? Crazy that to deal with the problem of too much debt, more government debt is created, et cetera, money printing. Yeah, I talked about this the other day. I don't think the debt ceiling will prevent the Fed from raising interest rates. I think the Fed is going to try to keep those separate, but we will see. I think the Biden administration and Congress will come to an agreement over the debt ceiling. I find it hard to believe that either side wants to be blamed for, what do you call it, a default of the U.S. government. So I think they'll come to an agreement. I think that agreement will overall be good for the American economy. All right. Thank you, guys. We made our goal. I have to run. This is great. I'll see you all tonight. Valentine's Day show. We'll talk a lot about love in art. And what else? I will see you tomorrow for another one of these shows. And don't forget, Thursday, we've got Alex Epstein, and Friday and Saturday, one of the things we'll be doing Saturday is celebrating Michael Jordan's birthday with Skylar.